And I'm behind the tree now. Oh, let's see. How do I want to do that? Oh, there.
You gotta scoot sideways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, this way, this way. Okay, yeah. But see, I want to show off my. Hello, everybody. I got to show off my little bats flying around my skull. Had to add a little ambiance to the evening. So I see my sister's here, Randy's here, Angie.
Angie's here. Hello, sweethearts.
I'd be present, y'all. Howdy. And actually, I discovered something. Look at this. There we go.
That's cool.
Yes.
Kudos for Randy, both sides.
And yes, and there's my sister. So see,
Sister.
I can show
Oh,
y'all
we can have
here.
faces.
Look
Yeah.
at Angie.
There's our Angie.
So appreciate everybody being here and hope you like our motif. That's why I was like, I'm over here behind the tree, and I was like, oh.
Little creepy things down there.
Yes. Oh, but
And our little ghosty guy. Yeah.
yeah, and I want to show y'all something real quick before I'll show it again at the very end. But here. What I did was we've got and crud, can't see it that real good. But yeah, of course the haunted things are in the way. So cancel that and turn that off. I know this is ridiculous. I'm gonna hide you for a second, Margot. It's got iTunes, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify QR codes because we are on all of them. Our podcasts are now um on. Let me find Margot. I lost Margot. Where did she go? Our podcast, the verbal part. There we go. Sorry about that, dear.
No worries.
Um,
There.
yeah. Are in Spotify and iTunes now. So if
Four.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got what I'm doing is I'm gradually going back and taking the audio from our previous sessions. And hopefully after this weekend we'll be caught up. So if you know anybody that wants to hear the ones we've done before, like well, my sister mentioned she likes to walk and listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And so she can't do that with the videos. And so I made that effort and we're on there and yay. So I just wanted to mention it to everybody. And I'll
Thank you,
post
Iris.
yeah.
Thank you for doing all that work, Iris. That's
Oh,
awesome.
sure.
Make a lot of people happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Hope
Yeah.
so. So share. Tell people about it, and hopefully we can gain some momentum because we've got our faithful, and we love the faithful ones that come and want to be able to entertain some other people. Hopefully. Hey, Cedric, how are you?
Hello. We've got Cedric too.
Yes, Cedric is an old friend, and he's in Miami now, and
Oh,
I knew him when he was in Greensboro, and so yeah, awesome, Cedric, and probably his significant other. I don't know for sure, but yeah, there's Cedric. That's not his significant other in the picture, though. I don't.
social discretion.
Yes, and I'm totally ask them to subscribe, rate, and review. Yes, subscribe. Thank you, Deborah. She's excellent on social media stuff. Um, so definitely.
Please subscribe on YouTube. Yes.
And on the Spotify or iTunes, even if you don't listen to them, because you've already been here, but do that.
Cedric said Anna Banana.
Yes, Anna Banana. I was gonna say Annabelle, but I was like, I got distracted. So yes.
That's all right. That's all right.
So glad
you're multitasking. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Just sometimes it works on me and sometimes it doesn't. So, ghost stories. That's what we're here for. Yeah, the ghost in the corner.
Woo!
Um,
Got lots of
so
that.
one of the stories that I was going to share with people, kind of get you in the mode here, and it's a lesser known story. Is I'm going over here, get out from the tree. Um,
Tree branches up your nose, right?
yeah, really.
While you're talking.
um, they I I used to be, and I'm still kind of associated with it, but the a paranormal investigative team.
Mhm.
And I got the team, and it was one of the prominent ones in North Carolina. We're actually affiliated with TAPS, the ghost hunters. You know, everybody back then wanted to be TAPS affiliated because it gave you some creep.
Credibility.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And hello, Tara. So anyway, I said, but I knew that Greensboro College had hauntings because my ex-husband worked in the library and had had numerous experiences there. And I had heard about stuff in the main building, the original building that started before everything grew around it. And I mean, he heard somebody singing opera in the stacks one day when he was there by himself, and another professor had come to do some research, and she was back in the stacks where they have all the books, and they heard this opera singing coming from above. And when he went to investigate, and she and her family were in there, and everybody's looking up trying to figure out where
Looking
this,
up the stairwell. Yeah.
looking up the stairway trying to figure out where's this opera singing coming from. And he went up, opened the door to the roof, and it stopped. And even the housekeeping staff did not like going in by alone. They told stories. They would like, because they'd get there early in the morning and clean up something. No, we just get in here and do our stuff and get out as quick as we can. Yeah, yeah. Um, but but the big thing at the college was that O. Henry William Sidney Porter was from Greensboro. His mother had been a teacher at the college, and his dad worked at the drugstore nearby. And his mom passed away. She got consumption or tuberculosis, one of those. Anyway,
Right.
um, and he was like a young teenager, and he'd hang around the college, getting a lot of fights with the uh,
With the
guys
local.
would hang around. Yeah, because it was an all girls school back then, but the guys would kind of, hang around.
Hang out. Cat house. Right.
Yeah, and
Sort of. Yeah.
and then he got married and he moved away, and like he moved to Texas because his wife had lung problems, and he ended up getting arrested for embezzlement at one point. It wasn't until his wife had died and he moved to New York and was destitute and alcoholic and started writing his stories to magazines to make money,
Yeah.
that he became famous, more famous after he died than when he was
Right.
alive even.
Right.
And so what had happened was people would, like, there were a couple of stories that I heard before we did the investigation. One was that a bunch of students, this was, later on, like in the 80s, a bunch of students were rehearsing for a play, and they were actually doing Gift of the Magi, which O. Henry wrote.
Mhm.
And some of the actors after rehearsal were kind of, and this was in the big main building, and they were gathered outside the theater, and they were talking about O. Henry, and they were talking about how destitute he was. He was an alcoholic, and he had been arrested, and yada yada yada.
The downside. Right.
All the lights went out.
Mm.
And somebody said, y'all can't talk about him. He gets pissed off and he does stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And evidently there have been other stories that have been passed along. So they said, okay. So they leave, and they're telling some people in the dorm about what had happened. So the people in the dorm start talking about it. Poof, all the lights go out.
Whoops.
He followed them. Well,
Yeah.
I told this to, and I'm managing the investigation that we're doing at the college, and we set up equipment on the third floor of the building, of the main building, because there had been some sightings there. We also knew about the theater stuff and all that, and so we were going to set up cameras, or did set up cameras. We had like 4 cameras set up and a computer. And we left to go investigate at the library. We go to the library, and I was on one aisle of books, and somebody else was walking up the other side, and there were some people on the far end. And as the person came to the end, we both heard something go wham, and we looked, and there was a book, perfectly tinted,
Ooh.
like in a tent shape, sitting on the floor, that had come off the shelf and had just landed on its edges
Triangularly. Yeah.
triangularly. And the people at the other end turned around and looked, and it was like, and we checked, there was no way the guy had hit the shelf to make it fly off
To
from
make
the
it
other
fall.
side.
It
Yeah,
flew off.
it flew
Yeah.
off the shelf. And so it's like, okay, so we're really cool. And we, did some other stuff and had a few other iffy things happen, but that was really out
Do
there.
you guys, did anybody write down what book it was, the title or anything?
I did, but I can't remember. It didn't
That's all
seem to
right.
be significant, and it probably would have taken a lot of research to see, but
Sure.
at the
Sure.
time it was like, why is it open to this? We thought
That
about
babe.
that, but
Yeah.
I don't remember being able to find anything
All
in
right.
depth on it.
That's all right.
So we finished
Lots
up.
of details.
We spent about an hour at the library, and in the meantime, we heard stories about soldiers being seen on campus, Confederate soldiers, because it was a Confederate hospital at one time. Um, One soldier in particular kept showing up with a dog, and people would actually talk to him. Are you dressed
Wow.
up and all this? And he'd go off and walk down the railroad track or whatever, and all kinds of stuff happens on campus. So we go back in to check the footage on the third floor. And I had told the security on the first floor that we had cameras up there and to please not go up there. And they knew not to go up there. They didn't go up there. Nobody else was in the building. We are looking, the guy who owned the equipment is looking, and he starts getting frantic. And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "This stayed on about 5 minutes, and it's like everything's fried." He said, "I don't know what happened. This stuff's new. It shouldn't be like this." And there was a couple standing off to the side, and I said, "Did y'all talk about O. Henry?" "I told you not to talk about O. Henry." And they said, "Yeah, we did." And I went, "It's their fault." O. Henry fried our computer.
Absolutely. He already knew how to do that electric stuff. So, yep, he went through and shot it.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That's cool. That's cool. First-hand experience.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that is
it's
really
like,
cool.
every hair on your back, it's like, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So
it shows that he was a really temperamental person, is what it's showing, and that he has no problem, shooting back at something that still irritates him. He's still stuck between worlds. They're showing that he's not, the intuitive read is what I'm saying, is I know you were there, but from this, a couple of steps back, secondhand listener to what you just said, I'm listening to the information. He's not alone. There's more than one ghost entity or spiritual entity or whatever you want to call it associated to that spot, but they kind of treat him like the leader. And then they do littler stuff, such as the book smacking that you saw. That would be a good example of it. The opera singing, what they're showing me there is something similar to what I mentioned to you before the show started. There's a portal near the top of that stairwell. And when a human walks through it or walks by it, it has a closing effect on that particular one. That doesn't mean it happens at all portals, but on that one it does. It shuts it off. And for some reason, and I haven't read into it because I don't want to burn up all our time, but for some reason, somebody on the other side left it open, and the librarian and the professor that came to visit that night could hear the music coming in from the other side. And that was a boo-boo. That was a mistake. Nobody meant to do that.
You were raised in a bar and left the door open.
Yeah, it's like, you idiot, you left the door open. Go close it. The humans are coming. Well, get in there and shut the door. They did. And they did. Yeah, his energy as a human, because humans put off EMP waves, especially from our heart and secondarily from our brains. That energy pulse, reacted the doorway, the entities attached to it could be felt, could be sensed. And they went, whoops, not our guys. Sorry, not one of us. And that shut it down. You could probably get that portal to open again if you wanted to, because they seem really proud about opening it. They're not shy. They like it. They like doing that.
And something else we did learn about the colleges, it's on a slate of granite. There is this huge field of granite under the college, which acts like an antenna.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. That's one of them.
We did a geology study on it to see, and it was
that's pretty cool.
It's a neat atmosphere. I mean, I could just walk across campus, and then I wasn't as in tune as I am now, and could feel stuff. And yeah. I wonder if O. Henry hangs also. When you were talking about that, made me think if he doesn't sort of hang too because of the lateness of his fame, and it's like it's a way for him to enjoy it in a way. And I'm not saying, oh, he's just sitting back and going, oh, look at me, I'm famous, but more of like energy here keeps him
sort of Eddie. Keeps him present.
And so he gets some sort of gratification out of that.
Yeah, keeps him in the collective consciousness or active.
Yeah.
In the human, in the current modern, in this dimension that he apparently enjoyed.
And we've got a hotel named after him again.
You got a hotel, yeah, exactly.
The first one was torn down, but now we got it again. And his exhibit's still in the museum, and
yeah, that's possible. He's enjoying the notoriety and making sure it stays stirred up. Yeah. Absolutely. That fits the energy type of profile he has. Very egocentric, and needs constantly needs the praise, the praise and the energy input from adoring fans. Hey, Jeanine. Jeanine has joined us. Yeah.
Look, Jeanine came in, so we'll do this to her. Yay! There we go.
Your name up in lights, Jeanine.
I do Tara too. Hey, there you go.
Tara gets one too.
Hugs back to you, Tara. Yeah, I'm gonna play with everybody's names tonight.
There you go. A little bit of food.
So you've got some good stuff for us tonight.
I do. My husband and I had several times, and you've had the pleasure of going to a haunted house that's now a restaurant called the Brentwood. It's also called Brentwood Bistro in the town of Little River, South Carolina. And it's actually a historical Victorian style house that has been moved a few times. I know of once, sorry. It's been moved at least once that I know of. but only moved about 2 or 3 blocks from its original place. And it's on the National Registry of Historic Houses, because not only did local leaders and their families, the Corsleys, live there, but it was also a bed and breakfast kind of thing, back in the early 1900s and so on. But before that, it was actually a hospital during the Civil War. So a lot has happened with the Brentwood, and I've heard a lot of stories, and I've seen a lot of stuff being there. I've done ghost and gourmet events there. So I narrowed it down to 3 incidences that fit well with what we're doing tonight. And the first one is a story that the owner tells a lot about the upstairs bathroom. It's a 1-seater, men and women. And at random, the owner himself and his wife or staff, and unfortunately dinner guests, because now it's a restaurant, get stuck in that bathroom. The door will not open at random. People on the other, you can hear, the owner tells the story, guests get stuck in there or staff gets stuck in there. And everybody bangs on the door and everybody shakes the door, and they try to guess, is the humidity up right now? Or is it swelling in its frame? No. Everything's normal, super dry. It has been dry for days and days, middle of winter. It's cold. All conditions, it suddenly will lock. And then at random, somebody shaking the door, it'll pop open for not knowing. Now, what's interesting is while you're in the bathroom, people that are sitting there waiting for the people on the outside to let them out have reported something touching them, almost always on their neck, like a brush. And they have heard a woman's voice talking to them. And it almost always sounds like somebody clearing their throat, like they're feeling impatient. That kind of thing. It's not a soft noise. It's very clearly a human female clearing their voice. The attachment to that is Mrs. Corsley, who used to run it as a men's boarding house. She would get impatient when they would spend too much time in the only water closet in the whole building, the residents there. And she would go by the door when they were in there too long and
Oh, you froze up.
make it when you were too long in the water closet. So it fits so yeah, you get locked in there too long, she's going to come and cough at you. And she does, and she still does. Now, another story was during a Ghost and Gourmet event that we had, and right before, it was a huge one. It had like 30 or 40 people at it. And some of my friends were participants at the time. 2 of them, before it even started, we were all in the downstairs with immediately right beside a main chimney stack right up the middle of this 2.5-story building, the half story being the attic that's not open to the public. And I'll talk more about that chimney in just a minute. But this bathroom is immediately beside it, letting people have their hors d'oeuvres and check in and find their spot at the table. It takes about half an hour to let that many people settle in. Several minutes apart, 2 different friends who did not know each other came up all excited and she went to the ladies' bathroom that we just talked about. It too is a 1-seater. You're in there by yourself. She went in, turned around, closed the door, turned back around, and the tiny little just little wicker basket that was over by the toilet was now in the middle of the room. She did not hear anything. She walked in, everything, the floor was wide open. She turned around, closed the door, turned back around, and there right in front of her is a trash can, a wastebasket. No sound, no movement seen. It's just there. And it's no longer by the toilet. And I said, "What'd you do?" She said, "Actually, I was okay with it. It was just a little weird. I went to the bathroom and she said, I put the trash can back. And I said, well, that was very nice of you. She said, but I wanted to tell you, oh my God, that was weird. I was like, that's awesome. Thanks for telling me. This is cool. A few minutes later, totally different friend. They don't know each other. They weren't around when the second lady came up and said, Margo, I got to tell you what just happened. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it happened again. What happened? And the second friend was giggling, and she's a very aware person, and she doesn't scare easy. She's very cool. She said, I just went to the ladies' room. And I said, really? I said, apparently that's a hot spot right now. And she said, really? Okay, let me tell you what happened. And I was like, great. She went in the restroom, did her thing, walked over to the sink to wash her hands. And without touching it, before she did anything, all she did was walk up to the sink. The water turned on by itself.
Now that's a helpful ghost.
And it was a helpful ghost. And I started giggling, and she started giggling. And I said, and what did you do? She said, I said, thank you. I went, yay, Lydia. Her name was Lydia. The second lady was Lydia. And so, yeah. And I said, that's awesome. And she washed her hands and came out and told me what had happened.
Now, if only that person would have turned it off for her, too.
And hand you a towel.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Let it float across the room at you. That would have been too fun.
Oh, my God.
So do you get any, just off of those two stories, do you get anything?
Somebody is very attached to the home and very much still in control of it and keeping tabs on it and making sure that, okay, let's get these people through. We have too many people around here. There are things to be done, and we have better things to do than sit in the bathroom. Yeah.
Move along. Don't hang out in the bathroom any longer than you have to.
Yeah, and I think that's, and I don't know what's on in the attic. When it was a boarding house, did the woman stay in the attic?
No, she stayed on the second floor. However, when I've done haunted tours through the whole house, the attic is where the ghosts hang out. That's where they stay when there's too much restaurant business going on.
Oh, wow.
That is where they hang out. They're comfortable up there.
Well, I would be too.
So, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, no, you wouldn't. It's a dingy, dark, hot attic.
Yeah, but I mean, if I were a ghost and there was lots of above it, it's like, oh, let me get up here away from the energy,
Their ghosts tend to come down and play with the staff after hours while they're trying to clean up or before they open. It's really funny. They don't mess with the guests too much, except for that bathroom thing. That's the only time they mess with guests. It's kind of cool. Now,
and I think because it's a single bathroom and it's isolated, that gives an opportunity to be one-on-one with the guests rather than messing with a whole room full of people.
Exactly. They seem a little shy.
Yeah.
But they do really, really mess with the staff. They really do. in that restaurant. Staff can tell you all kinds of cool stories.
They're still caretakers of the house, though, definitely.
Yes, they are. Yeah. They make it clear they feel ownership. That was very intuitive of you. You hit it right on the head. They're very territorial in that house. The third thing, there's a reason why they have to be territorial. That chimney that I mentioned earlier that goes all the way through the house, they had me do a psychic read, feel, and actually, get up on that chimney, and they told me about stuff that had happened right around the chimney, in front of it, on both levels. There's a secret servant passageway, stairway that wraps around the chimney and comes out behind it as well, with a secret door on the main stairwell, all kinds of really cool stuff. So, but it's blocked off. It's not used. So I did a lot of reading similar to the top of the stairwell in the library that you mentioned. But that too is a portal for where there's a lot of traffic between this world and that world. So it makes sense that the resident ghosts in that house are very particular about maintaining that house, because apparently humans and other things come traipsing through, whether they like it or not.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that is cool.
Oh, Beetlejuice. Tara said Beetlejuice. Yeah, sort of a real modern day Beetlejuice kind of taking care of business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And the two ghosts that wanted the house back, and they used Beetlejuice. Yeah, that's a cute movie.
There are vortexes and portals that
The Brit.
you can move an end of it. Like if I've done it for people before, where like they'd have one in their house and it seemed like stuff was going through,
Yeah,
and
yeah, right.
just
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
for it
yeah.
to be moved. Okay. I mean,
You
we
can.
can't necessarily make it come or go, but we can say,
You can
fine, if stuff's
shift.
coming in, let's put the door over here.
You can stretch it out. Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can control that. In the case of the Brentwood, the ghost thing, they've been on Haunted America, they've been on National Geographic Haunted House, on and on and on. It's part of their signature, so they want the ghosts to stay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But in a private situation, yeah, absolutely, you can move portals over. Absolutely, yeah,
Very
very
cool.
cool. That's good advice. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
thought I'd put it out there for anybody else who has, weird
Do you
stuff going on.
guys? Yeah, do you guys any chance of bringing home something extra? Bringing home something extra home from one of these ghost tours? That is a real popular question that I have one opinion on. How about you, Iris? Have you dealt
Oh,
with anybody
I think it's
that brings
definitely
home?
positive. I mean, positive,
Possible. Okay.
yeah,
Well, both. Yeah.
yeah, but it doesn't mean it has to stay with you. I
And it
think
usually doesn't. It usually doesn't. Yeah.
it's just a curiosity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
which I would love to, because that's my sister. I want to tell a story on her because she had the experience of, she called me one day and she said, Iris, there's something weird going on in my house. She said, and she said, I have lost, and it was a book that she used for bridge.
Okay.
And I don't remember the name of it, but it's like just something a player would use. It has they keep scores and information in there and that sort of thing. Nobody else would have any interest in it. And she kept it in a particular drawer in her kitchen. And she said her son wanted to see it for some reason because he plays bridge too. And she said, well, it's in my drawer. You know where it is. And he goes, no, it's not. And it had disappeared, totally
Oh.
disappeared. So I did a reading and I said, what did you just brought some artwork home. And she said, artwork? I said, something artsy. And she said, yeah, I did. I went to like the local farmer's market and had bought a little um, uh, puppy dog metal thing put together that goes in the garden. I said, and you brought it
Okay.
in the house? And she said, yes. She said, I laid it on the table and then I took it outside later. I said,
Yeah.
you got a fairy. A fairy that had motivated and inspired the artist, really was attached
Oh.
to that piece of work. And when
Yeah.
you picked it up, it was going with it and it was like, well, hey, I'll go along for the ride. And then you got there and it hops off and goes, woohoo, let me look around. And it knew you like it, your energy was all over that book. I said, so be nice and ask for it back. And my sister called me, I don't know, maybe a week later. And she said, I was sitting in the living room, which is right next to the kitchen. And she had asked for it back. And she heard
Okay.
this clanking noise. And when she went to check, her book had landed in some bowls that were in a cabinet next to the drawers where the book should have been put in the drawers. It evidently the
Yeah.
fairy missed when it brought it back. Yeah, just
Left it out there.
and So, so it's like, yes, we do believe. We do believe. We
Yeah,
have to
Tinkerbell.
clap. Come on, Tinkerbell.
I do believe. I do believe.
So I think sort of the same thing with the ghost thing. I think sometimes if they're interested in somebody or they pick up an
Mhm.
energy or see in essence an open door, somebody who's receptive
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
or
it's
who
more intense. Yeah, the
and it's some
activity goes up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so they go, okay, let's go home and see what's going on. And then they get there and they go, okay, well, we'll go back.
It's a curiosity reaction. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sort of. So Angie mentions she grew up in a haunted house where a shadow person would stalk her and stand over her bed. My siblings could see it standing over my bed. Ages 2 through 11. LOL, the house was built in 1905. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Visiting her as a child, and I think Iris has a story for us relative to that about shadowy people coming to visit.
Hmm.
But Angie, it doesn't seem like the vibe on your shadow people that you're talking about. I'm just calling them shadow people. Um, your shadow person. It sounds like a caretaker type energy. Not that they were feeling particularly possessive or experimental towards you in any negative sense. It's more of that they felt like watchful and caretaking to the point that they would let other children in the house actually see them because I'm sure they would like the help in the 3D world for their intention of keeping you safe.
Well, and
Yeah.
typically, because I had multiple experiences with shadow people through the years, and typically they are a lesser evolved spiritual entity, and they're
Mm-hmm.
attracted to children. And I've
Because of the
I am
energy.
writing a book, and one of the chapters is called "Like a Moth to a Flame," and
Yeah.
it's because they
Children
see
carry
that
very pure energy.
the
Yeah.
light and the energy, and they're like, "Woo." They shadow people can also be manipulated by other people, but just like they can be manipulated, you can also instruct them to not be around. They're
And it
very
doesn't matter if,
quiet.
yeah, Angie, it doesn't matter if they don't speak. You can still control and tell them what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they're just curious. That's their
Mhm. It's a
yeah,
basic drive everywhere in the universe. So,
yeah.
Iris, tell us more about visitations on your daughter.
Ah, yes. Well, I'm going to read a little bit that I've written. I'm working on this book. I've been working on this book forever, but I am determined to get it done because, and I'm almost there. But in this chapter, like a moth to a flame, I write. My daughter began talking about the man under her bed when she was 2.5 years old. Her sleeping patterns changed. She didn't want to go to sleep, and when she did, she'd wake up within an hour. My husband and I tried all the ways we could think of to get her to sleep: warm baths, calming down before bed, reading stories, sitting with her, laying with her, sitting by her door, night lights, no lights, scolding, loving. Nothing worked. She wanted us with her every moment, and she fought going to sleep. You're such a big girl now, we said. Why don't you want to go to sleep? I'm scared, she said. Why are you scared? You haven't been scared before. There's a man under my bed. We crawled on the floor and looked under the bed while she peered from above. See, there's no one under your bed. Do you want us to check the closet? She nodded. The closet was at the foot of her bed, and she could clearly see inside when we opened the door. There's nothing in there to be afraid of either. Her eyes would search around the room, and though she agreed with us, the fear remained, like a haze in the air. My husband and I took turns going through the routines, trying new ideas, and when she would finally doze off, we tiptoed out of the room. Some nights were quiet, but often she came into the den where we were watching television. She would wipe her eyes sleepily, sometimes in tears. Why are you up? The man under my bed. One Saturday morning, we were cleaning the house. I was changing sheets and gathering laundry. My husband was helping my daughter pick up toys in her room and reached under the bed to grab a stuffed animal that had gone astray. If that man under her bed is going to wake her up, the least he could do is retrieve her toys when he comes out, I said. My husband chuckled. Suddenly, I had an idea. Have you ever seen Mommy and Daddy's wedding album? I asked my daughter. No. Do you want to see the pictures? She smiled and nodded. The photo album had been stuck in a closet since we moved into my husband's childhood home the previous year. We never had reason to get it out, and I knew my daughter had never seen the pictures. We sat down together and I opened the book. The standard pictures of us before, during, and after the wedding lined the pages. There's Mommy, she said, pointing to me. She recognized her father in another photo and knew the minister of the church we still attended. She identified various relatives and was curious with each turn of the page. Who's that? I asked, pointing to my husband's father. That's the man under my bed, she exclaimed. Really, I was stunned. I pointed to another picture of my father-in-law. Is that the man too? Yes. She seemed so happy that we finally identified him. Her grandfather had died from lung cancer before she was born. In fact, he died in the bathroom across the hall from her bedroom. His death, though not unexpected, was sudden. A blood vessel burst in his lung and he literally bled to death. He was,
Wow.
yeah. So
He was still in that
he was
house.
still in that house. And he had followed her
He-
since she was born. We were aware that he was around. And at one point we had said, this is cool. We're glad you're watching, but, can you tone it down a little bit? But
yeah,
then when she got old enough to converse with him, he was right back. And then we were in the house. And I saw him walk through one time. I thought it was my husband walking through because he was outside doing something to the car.
Right.
And I was in the kitchen, and the kitchen kind of had an L shape to it, and you could walk straight through the kitchen from the living room to the den.
Okay.
And I started yelling my husband's name because I wanted to catch him and ask him something. And he didn't respond. And he and his dad were about the same height.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where? And I yelled outside. I said, are you still outside? And he said, yeah. And I went, geez, your dad just walked through here.
Freaking us out. End up with that horror movie.
I was like, but he was there and we knew it. And
damn it, your dad gave me the slip again. Family resemblance foiled again. That is really cool. Yeah, the energy is very strong that obviously Grandpa wanted to participate in his family. And he really, really enjoyed spending time with your daughter because they're showing me that her energy reminded him of two things. One, some of the parts of fatherhood that he really enjoyed was dealing with infant children versus the ones that walk and talk and tell you no. It was her being small, and the fact that she was intimidated, she really didn't talk or do anything. She just hung way back. So it was pleasant for him to an extent, but apparently enough. And the other thing that he's actually communicating at the moment is that her energy reminded him of his wife, his love. And obviously she's a descendant of that woman too, but her energy was real similar to the sweet innocent energy of his wife.
yeah.
Does that tells you something?
Yeah, no, and I was thinking they share a birthday, but they don't. No, it's my granddaughter that shares a birthday with his wife. But yeah, but
So
and he froze up again.
Enjoyed that. He enjoyed that very much. And they're showing me he's still at that house. He hasn't left yet. Which he can come and go and visit, but they're showing me he still visits that house. So if somebody lives there, shit's happening to them that they ain't talking about. He might be very pleasant. We don't know. It looks like it's not anything.
Yeah, he wasn't malicious. He was
Yeah,
mischievous.
usually,
He was mischievous,
yeah,
but he wasn't malicious by
yeah.
any means. And he died.
They're showing me the people are there. They appreciate him, whoever he is, whoever's there. Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
I have to tell his son about that because we're not married anymore. But we're
You can communicate that. Sure, sure.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's right. Or tell her, your daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. And with both our kids, that's one of the reasons I'm writing the book, because I started when I was a kid having experiences, and then my kids, and I'm trying to write it from here are these stories, and then what do you do about it as a parent, and how do you work with children and acknowledge the fear and and let them have some control in their lives as well. So
absolutely,
we'll let you know when the book is ready.
Wonderful advice, and we appreciate you writing that kind of thing. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments, or want us to look at anything about what was going on and something you know about?
Iris, there is a presence with you now.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just not tuned into it because
because you're focusing on your work at the moment.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised.
And Randy, I agree with you entirely, because quite frankly, I've never seen Iris alone. Let's just be frank about it. She almost always has, similar to me, but she always has an entourage going on. But one or two will come up and kind of participate in their own energetic way. And it helps to know who I'm talking to, Iris or the one beside her. Yeah, the one right over her shoulder. But yeah, Randy, Iris is almost all or supernatural host with her. I haven't ever told her that, so I'm not sure if she's aware. Well, okay, yeah, she is. Iris is aware.
There's well, and I feel it sometimes. I know my angels are always there, especially when I call them. They're bam, and I'm aware of. But nobody. I think they've all been told enough. Do not scare me. Do not startle me. I don't mind if you're just.
They know the rules.
Yes, I have laid them out many times. I don't like being smart. I love, if you want to chat.
They like that. They like it when we give them parameters, because it gives them structure for how to communicate with us clearly without accidentally triggering us, which is a distraction from whatever truth they're trying to share. So yeah, they love it when you tell them, don't startle me, don't scare me, don't terrorize my kids by accident, stop making my dog bark all night long.
And sometimes at night I'm aware of it, especially when my head's calmer and I'm trying to go to sleep.
Yes, there's
I'll
less
see
input.
Something move, or and I'm like, who's there and what do you want? Or I'll be thinking something and I know they're reacting to and I'm like, I know, don't, and they're always on me about this book. So,
let's see, let's take some more questions here. While you were talking, I was looking over, but Deborah's saying something a little bit. Deborah says, darn, and I spent the night at her house many times and didn't know. Hotels for me in the future. Well, avoid the O. Henry hotel.
And guess what, Deborah? When I visit you, they come with me.
But they're not going to bother you, Deborah. They're for Iris only. Just for her. You're clear. You're clear.
And Randy sees a scary type smile. That's kind of.
He's saying your face changes just a little bit, and he sees an overlay of energy. And what's scary to one person is amusing to another. So we'd probably have to get Randy to draw a picture of that. Now look right above that. Jeanine says, what does it mean if you see an apparition and they don't move around? They don't move around or try to communicate. Maybe not so much of a question. What does it mean if you see an apparition and they don't move around and try to communicate? Generally speaking, when an apparition isn't very active or interactive with you, they're not aware of you either. There's multiple dimensions existing simultaneously, just sort of to give you a background for this. And what you're, for lack of a 30-minute explanation, I'm gonna abbreviate a little bit. Sometimes the dimensions overlap just a little instead of completely overlapping, and they'll touch on each other just a little bit, sort of like something I've mentioned before, membrane theory explains it in scientific terms. And so they're only touching in for just a second, so they're not, you may be aware of them, but they may not be aware of you, therefore they're not going to react to you. That's one explanation. Another one, that is the message, the fact that they're not speaking and not moving, that's actually part of what they're trying to convey. Something about that stillness, something about that quietness relative to whatever message or need that they're trying to communicate with you. So your intuition under both circumstances tells you which one applies.
I will add to that. Sometimes, like, you know how there's famous ghosts, like the woman that comes down the stairs, or the person looking out the window, or the person on the balcony. Those a lot
Brentwood's
of
got
times,
all of those. Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead.
those are typically energetic imprints. It's like a frozen moment in time. Something happened. They left so much energy there. It's like when you turn the TV off, especially in the old days when the TVs had to warm up, and you turn them off and you could still see the images there.
Ghost, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the same. Yeah, it's energy. So what else?
It's an energetic impression, right? Tara says, right, and then they are having fun. They are having fun too. Yes, lots of times apparitions are having fun with us too. And then Jeanine went on to say, I have an experience where I was walking down my hallway towards the bedroom, and directly across the room from the bedroom door is the closet. As I was walking down the hallway, I saw my paternal grandparents standing there, and I froze, hair standing on end. Yes, because they both had already passed, but I could see through them. She experienced them as transparent. That's quintessential ghosties checking in on their descendants.
Yeah.
But Iris, can you visit the scene there a little bit for Jeanine?
I totally think that it was just, they were looking around, and they weren't necessarily trying to be seen, but the energy was just right. And there's no, I don't think that they were necessarily intentional in their actions. It was just, let's go take a look and pop in and see what's going on. And I think
visit the family.
And it just, I don't get that there was necessarily any kind of message, and that maybe as quick as you were aware of it, they were aware of it, and it was like, whoops, and off they went.
Yeah, it bothers them when they scare us. They don't want to scare us. That's not their intention, and that upsets them. So they'll either show up more subtly next time, or they won't show up again, depending on what they choose, or what you choose as well that they can detect. So yeah, they don't try to scare you, and that freaks them out. So Jeanine, they understood entirely that was not appropriate at that time. So Randy says New Orleans, and I'm not sure. New Orleans is haunted to the hilt. Every single square inch of it is. I'm not sure. Randy, I'm sorry, I don't understand why you said New Orleans, or if that's a question. But Cedric says, experience any graveyard hauntings. Now, you used to do paranormal investigations, Iris.
Yeah.
Oh, they did leave. Okay. And
Um,
a
I
little
meant to.
confirmation there.
Yeah. Yeah. Janine said they left suddenly, and I accidentally hit her comment instead of Cedric. Sorry about that. It moved on me.
That's
but
all right.
uh,
They
it,
disappeared as I walked closer. Yeah.
yeah. But Cedric, on the graveyard hauntings,
Yeah.
that was a popular pastime that it was like everybody assumed we'll get stuff in the graveyard.
Not
And there's not that
necessarily.
much. They
Uh-uh.
don't like hanging around the
Thank
graveyard. First of all,
you.
there's no live people in the graveyard. There's no real energy in the graveyard. There's nothing to attract them. What is in the graveyard is the energy of the people who
The
have
living
grieved,
people.
the living people's energy. There's a lot of grief in the graveyard.
Or
And
people that are up to nefarious events that
yeah,
you don't want in a graveyard. But yeah, their energy can give you the heebie-jeebies.
yeah. And I think it's because of them that some entities are attracted. If there's somebody doing something nefarious and not, then you're going to have some of the more less positive, negative energy attracted into the
Well, like
graveyard.
attracts like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like attracts like. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
it's interesting because a lot of people, I love going to graveyards. I mean, I find
They're
it
actually quite
calming.
peaceful.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
very,
Yeah,
very peaceful.
very peaceful. It's very peaceful. Um, Very cool. Randy said he saw a lady ghost in my picture.
Mm.
Randy, what picture are you talking about? Or Iris, do you know what he's talking about?
No,
We'll
I'm
see
not
if Randy
getting
will.
it.
All right, we'll see if Randy will clarify for us. Angie says, my garage used to be part of a funeral home, and it was active for a while, and it's very old. They built coffins in it, and that was very, very many years ago. They're building they used to build coffins in there. That's actually an act of compassion as well as industry. So yeah, you're probably going to see a lot of that kind of energy coming out of that. But that's a pretty cool feature to have. Nice. Let us know if something else happens in there. That'd be very cool.
I went on a date.
Randy says the place was closed.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
lived in the funeral home, so we went back to his place, and I got the grand tour, and I was like, "This is so cool!"
Oh, that is cool. Was that a first date? Was the
I had
tour of the
known him
first
for
date?
years, and then we went out
All
on a
right.
date. So yeah,
Good. That would have been a
yeah.
little weird. The place was closed and no one was there. Battleground area is haunted area. Absolutely. Battleground's extremely haunted, especially if you walk out in the park on some of the battleground
I do have a quick story.
if you're empathic to that. Right.
Did I?
Yeah. Battleground Park is creepy at night. Cedric knows this too. Very cool. And in the hotel. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I knew of a
Yeah.
woman that
Soldiers everywhere.
yeah,
Battle
soldiers,
guns.
and there'll be,
Soldiers, nurses.
yeah, there's a
Yeah,
part
militia.
up there where they hear horses and cavalry and gunshots.
That's right.
But
Yeah,
again, that's
cavalry and
energy
gunshots with the
imprints.
horses. That's it. Oh, good. That's a good. Thank you. That's a good example of the energy imprint.
Yeah.
Cool. And if you can hear and see all that good stuff, you're well on the way to developing your intuition to really cool levels. So thanks for sharing us that you guys are aware of this stuff too.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So,
So we're up to 10:30.
yes, holy cow.
But
But
we
we
love
have,
answering you guys' questions and hearing your stories. So thank you for that. Thank you.
yes. And I'll put the links to Spotify and to um iTunes on our Facebook page,
Good.
facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo. We appreciate y'all hanging with us tonight and staying, a little bit longer. Actually, I've heard comment that maybe we should consider making our podcasts a little bit longer. if you've got opinions on that, leave them on our page or
Yeah,
contact us. Let us
yeah.
know. But we appreciate it. And next week we're doing the podcast on. Wait. I'm gonna get it. It
She's got
is.
notes somewhere. Is that the
Uh,
spelling? Is that
yes.
spelling?
Thank
Spelling?
you.
Good.
Yes, the
Good.
spelling. And that's
You don't
really.
know, general public doesn't realize how many spells you are casting every day. And we're going to talk about how you do that and why and what some of them are.
Yes.
And how they and what they can do.
And the
And right, the purpose of them. Absolutely. So that'll be fun. And there's historical stuff and everything. So we look forward to that one.
Yay! So till then, we'll see you next week at 9:30. And um, thank you
Happy
for
Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween.
Or happy holiday, or happy Samhain, or happy Day of the Dead. The Dias de los Muertos in
Yes.
español. Sí, sí.
Yes. So
Those
great.
celebrations of life and death and transition.
Yes.
Namaste, guys. Thank you,
Namaste.
Miss Iris.
Thank you so much.